we are, just completed the first week of our church family devotions, and hopefully you've been keeping up and we're able to read through the book Not a Fan, and also through your Bible, the different things that we talked about last week. Just want to kind of come back and review a little bit about what we learned through this week, hopefully, and highlight some things that stuck out to us. I think as you read through the prologue in chapter 1 and chapter 2 of the book, hopefully you were struck by this idea that Jesus really wasn't trying to draw a crowd. He wasn't looking just to have as many people follow him, just be intrigued by him, but he was looking for followers, not just fans. And the distinction that is made throughout these three chapters, the prologue and the first two chapters, is pretty profound. And I think that's the thing. He was not looking for a large crowd. He was looking for a large level of commitment, as is mentioned in the prologue. And even so, as Jesus drew these crowds to follow him, as he fed the 5,000, as you read about in John chapter 6, that there was this picture of that there were many who heard Jesus teaching, and they decided they couldn't stay with him. They couldn't be a follower of his because what he was saying was too hard. And I think that's an interesting thing that we see that even in our world today. There are a lot of people who will not follow Jesus because it seems to be too hard. So we just want to kind of highlight some other things because we're looking, hopefully, for us to develop a deeper commitment to Jesus, to not just be a fan, but to really choose to follow him and have that be demonstrated by our life.
And I kind of picked up on the idea too that sometimes when we present Jesus to other people and our experience of him, maybe we present him as worthy of being a fan of, instead of saying, it's going to be hard, or he's going to interfere with your life, to use the author's words. But yet, even with those challenges, following him is a much greater benefit. And let me not jump to chapter 2 yet because, I have a lot of thoughts. So chapter 1, DTR, when we read this book, our children were still at home. They were teenagers. And I remember saying to them, hey, you guys, do you know what DTR means? And they're like, yeah, Mom. Define the relationship. And I was like, oh, you do know. Okay. It was new to me then. And I was really, it was an education for me to see how you can do it a couple of different ways. And the questions that the author puts forth: is your commitment to Jesus casual, or is it committed? Have you moved past the infatuation stage and into the deeper devotion toward that? Or, where are you at? And this notion that he suggested, considering yourself in a coffee shop, Jesus comes in and sits down, and he wants to know how we feel about him. And I don't know, I don't always think that way. And to consider it and wonder, what would I say if Jesus said that to me? And on pages 23 through 25, it was so good that, Jesus skips the small talk and says, it's time that we define this. Where do we stand? Where do you stand? He knows where he stands. And I love the guy at the football game who comes and, he's got the face paint and he's got the shirt and all that. He's got the bumper stickers. He's a fan, but he's never in the game. He never breaks a sweat. He knows all the players, can rattle off all their stats, but he doesn't know the players. He yells and cheers, but nothing is required of him. There is no sacrifice he has to make. Jesus has a lot of fans today, the fans who cheer for him, but they walk away when it's a difficult season. And maybe you've been there, or maybe you know someone who is there. There's going to be sacrifice and there's going to be pain, but it shouldn't be something that makes us nervous or to pull away from Jesus, but something that you always say, pain and sacrifice, we should be running toward him, not against him. And this certainly picks up there.
And I think along with that too, what we see is someone who is really a follower of Jesus is someone who wants to be close to him for the right reasons. And the author says there in the middle of page 25 that, some people just want to be close enough to Jesus to get the benefits, but they're
The
not.
free food.
Yeah, the free food, as in the example that he is using there. They want to be close enough to get the benefits, but they don't want to be so close that it requires anything from them. And I think that is where the following steps in. Following Jesus will require something of us. It will demand that we live a little bit differently, maybe a lot differently, because we're understanding what Jesus has commanded us and what he's asking us to do. And so there are, as even the things that he goes on to talk about, what are the measurements that we understand of what it is to be, to the measurements to really define your relationship with Christ? What are the things that he mentions there that we need to keep in mind?
And we better know how it is that Jesus defines the relationship. What are his measurements? And that's what we need to go with. Yeah. And I was kind of encouraged, but not, to read how some might answer that question. It's because I go to, remember that long list of funny things that he put in there? I go to church, my grandparents were Christians, I went to VBS, all those kinds of things. We can give those answers. I've even heard people say, well, people know where I stand. And I think, what does where you stand mean? This is all about relationship and growing in that relationship. And the thought of being able to receive all the benefits of it without it costing anything from us is kind of a little bit of shallow thinking. Now, of course, Jesus paid the cost to bring us into the relationship. He did that on the cross, but it's still, to follow him, it is consistent in the Bible that there will be pain, there will be suffering. We need to yield to it, but it is also so beneficial, and it's really the only fulfilling way to live.
And I think along with that, even as we talk about, even this is the key, it's defining the relationship, and the relationship is the key thing. And even in my relationship with Angela, there are things that, yes, are there benefits of us being married? Yes. But what is the deeper thing? What's required of me in this relationship that we enjoy? And I need to keep that in mind too. And that the way I respond to the things that cost me something in my relationship with her, that signifies the importance of this relationship and how I value her, and in her regards to me as well. There's always a cost along the way to something. And as you said, really, we're trying to look to Jesus here and see, what does Jesus say about what a relationship with him looks like. And I believe here, as we've read, it's going to cost us something.
Right. And even the phrase he uses, Jesus is going to interfere with your life. Mm-hmm. I love that. Please interfere with my life. I don't know where I'm headed unless he gives me some direction. And then, I think we were just going to kind of wrap up with the two questions. What has following Jesus cost us, and where has he interfered in our lives? And for me, it's cost me some family relationships along the way. Not everyone gets on board when Jesus interferes to the point that he so changes your life. And, you might have to accept that. Not everyone's going. There's going to be some separation, and that has certainly been part of my experience. How about you?
Yeah, and I agree. So this idea of the decision, the relationship with Jesus, that becomes most important, and he's going to make a change. And we saw that in chapter 3, and as we read in John chapter 3 about Nicodemus, we see this picture of movement that's taking place in Nicodemus's life. To move him from being a fan or a maybe behind the scenes follower, the fact that he wanted to come to see Jesus in the night, and then he had to slowly come out into the light, out into the day, into the brightness, to show that he really was a follower of Jesus. And I think that's an important thing for us to think about.
And just last thing, when the author says, we have separated belief and following, and we've made it two categories, and that was never an option with Jesus. And I think that's a safe place for us to be. We don't have to worry if we can just say, we're just a follower. It isn't just about believing him. It's about following him. And that is a gift to us, for sure.
And that's our goal through doing this for the next number of weeks. We want to be better followers of Jesus. Yes, we need to know him. We want to believe in him. We want to understand what he's done for us. But we also want to follow him. We want him, as Angela said, we want him to invade our lives and impact our life and cause us to change our life. And so that's the process that we're working through these weeks. So we're at the end. We're kind of going to do this every week. We'll kind of review where we've been, and then now you can follow as we stop the video and as we leave this video. You'll see what we're going to ask you to read for this coming week, Monday through Friday, and then we'll see you again next Sunday, and we'll do a little review and keep moving as we seek to be a follower of Jesus.
And feel free during the week, if you see us or text us or talk to us and you want to talk to us about this, we want to talk about it too. And we might be asking you some questions. So hopefully you're all participating and really benefiting.
All right. We'll see you next week.